Opening music or something?
Something,
Credits?
some warm up,
Sure.
yeah.
Anything.
Where's the warm up band?
Opening act?
Okay. I'll call to order the city council meeting for April 28th, 2022. If everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Dave Webb,
Here.
Kevin Kadada,
Here.
Tim Root,
Here.
Cindy Fear,
Here.
and Scott Palava.
Here.
Okay, tonight's agenda goes through 10M. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Move we approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Councilman Karada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the April 14th, 2022 regular meeting. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Councilman Palava.
Second?
Second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There are no public hearings. Presentation of citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. So if you're not on the agenda, now is your opportunity to speak. Okay, there's 3 items on the consent agenda: the monthly bills, the treasurer's report, and the board and commission minutes. Would anybody like any of those items pulled for discussion?
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilman Karada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There is no old business, so on to new business. Consider approval to make a conditional job offer to Cody Brotherton as full-time police officer at step 1, $29.19 an hour. Jason Schmitz, Chief of Police. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Well, with the resignation of full-time police officer Luke Morris back in November of 2021, I was approved to replace his position and advertise for a full-time police officer. During that process, we received 11 applications, with 2 dropping out. 3 applicants were selected for an interview, which was held by the Human Resource Committee and I. We did select an applicant, but during the background process, we decided not to go with him. So it was decided to advertise the position again and received 7 applications. 5 applicants were selected for an interview, which was held on 2 separate dates. Out of the 5 applicants, 2 dropped out. 3 applicants were interviewed and did very well, and it was decided to select Cody Brotherton for the position. And so it would be my recommendation to give Cody Brotherton a conditional job offer as a full-time police officer for the city of Lonsdale if he successfully passes the background investigation, psychological and physical exams. And included in there, I included his application. So if there's any questions?
Any questions? And we were fortunate, we had actually 3 really good candidates there, as you mentioned. It was some good to choose from.
Yeah, I actually had, a few of them that actually had, law enforcement experience.
Right.
Unfortunately, the numbers are low. I mean, typically, we'd see 30 to 40 applications for a part-time position, and
Right.
so.
You think, is that statewide or countrywide, would you say? Is that kind of common?
Definitely statewide. I do believe it's also countrywide, but yeah, there's a lot of agencies looking for officers.
Sure. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve conditional job offer to Cody Brotherton, full-time police officer, step 1.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Palava, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to the HR board, Joel and Scott, for your time and interview process. Let's see here, on to presentation of a West Central Sanitation Good Neighbor Recycling Team check to the Lonsdale American Legion Post 586. Tyler Williamson, West Central Sanitation.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Good to see you. Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I gotta find you a new shirt. If you're ever wondering what to do with it, there's a nice blue dumpster outside.
Never occurred to me, sorry about that.
That's fine.
I actually had to pay for this one, though, just so we're clear.
Very good. Looks nice anyways. But,
That's pretty quick.
so, thank you again for letting me come in front of you here I got 2 checks tonight. One is for Q4 of 2021, and after this, one for the first quarter of 2022. The first one is to the American Legion Post 586, and I think Mr. Reek is here to accept this check. It is for 34.89 tons collected in the dumpsters out near McIntoons, and it's $523.38.
The distinguished Mr. Reed. Come on up there, Commander. This gentleman here is pretty dapper, by gosh. How you doing?
Here are, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to say a few words? You're usually pretty good
I'll
at
limit
that.
it to a few. Such as I've asked you to do several times.
You have, yes, you have.
No, I think it's great that the city of Lonsdale and the sanitation department that they partner with has boxes for the people to get rid of their recyclable cardboard. And I only wish they'd follow the instructions on the box and break things down and so forth. Cindy, you can attest to what happened in December, right after Christmas.
Yeah, I heard you and a couple of gentlemen were out there cleaning up, huh?
And it was windy and cold, one of the coldest days. But we got it, and plus some of the city helpers came and packed it down. And then 2 days later, it was overflowing again.
Oh, jeez.
And then the people just don't put it inside, they just throw it inside. But
Yeah.
great
yeah.
program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commander.
you.
Nice
Thank
seeing you
you.
again. Okay, number 2.
Yeah. So the second check I have here tonight is for TCU Cross Country. And they did 40.04 tons of recycling, and that is $600.60. And I don't know if anyone is here for TCU tonight to accept it.
There's a parent of a cross-country student. I
Right.
suppose he could accept
Mr.
it.
Erickson said he would take it for me, so
I'm sure.
that's what I plan to do. I'll
Is it made out to him, or is it made out to
No, he didn't email me quick enough for that. And before I leave or anything, is everything going okay here with the service? Is there anything you'd like to make me aware of or anything? Or?
I've had no complaints.
No, I think we're in good shape.
Okay, very good.
So thank you for asking, Noel.
And, you know, I think the amount of recycling since this whole program started with you and your predecessor, I mean, I think, what is, I mean, it's tens of thousands of tons. I mean, it's a lot of material that's
yeah.
been salvaged, and which is really great for, you know, great for community, great for society, actually. So appreciate all your work for that.
Yeah, and thanks to you guys for putting it on, and it's a good, you know, it makes people aware of it because they're all out there, and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot here that we don't do elsewhere because there's not as much awareness of it, so.
Good.
Thanks for doing that.
Good. Well, thank you for your time and your
Thank you.
check and
Yeah,
contribution.
thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor, I appreciate it.
Okay, consider approval of resolution 2022-28, a resolution proclaiming Friday, April 29th as Arbor Day in the city of Lonsdale. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Root and members of the council. Lonsdale was recently notified by the Arbor Day Foundation that it achieved the status of Tree City USA again for the 13th year in a row. The program was started in 2009. Just for a refresher, there's 4 criteria that need to be achieved in order to become a Tree City USA, and that's having park board / tree board, a tree care ordinance, and spending $2 per capita, which is just under $10,000 for Lonsdale, on trees, and then observation and proclamation for Arbor Day. So in 2022, we actually have 6 options to choose from. The past 2 years, we have not done Arbor Day due to COVID. So they came up with some other options this year for us, and what the park board is deciding to do is conduct an online social post or media campaign. So one of our park board members is putting together some things, and then we'll also have some links to our city website on trees and Arbor Day and Tree City USA. So tonight before you is the proclamation that we do every April, and marking one of the days in end of April or early May as Arbor Day, but this year it would be the 29th, so Friday tomorrow. So with that, Park Board did recommend approval of that proclamation.
Okay, I can briefly read the proclamation, I guess, to follow the formalities. A resolution proclaiming Friday, April 29th as Arbor Day in the city of Lonsdale, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore be it resolved by the city of Lonsdale that the Lonsdale City Council hereby proclaims Friday, April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the city of Lonsdale. The council urges all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodland. The council also urges all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
With that, I make a motion, we approve resolution 2022-28.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fear. Adopted by, or any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Adopted by the City Council of City of Lonsdale, Minnesota on this 20th day of April 2022. So thank you again for all your work, Ben, and as you mentioned over the years, the programs at the school were really they're pretty educational, pretty awesome. And hopefully they resume that again sometime. Okay, nice deal. And how many years was this? 13?
13.
13 years, yeah. Really nice. Thanks to the park board for all your work
Thank
on
you.
it. Okay, consider approval of a quote in the amount of $13,615 submitted by Korea Electric for installation of a generator interconnect for well number 5. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. During the 2022 budget process, staff obtained bids for a generator interconnect at well number 5. Currently, well number 4 is connected to a generator with the water treatment plant, but to have redundancy if something would happen there, we wanted to be able to connect well 5. Staff obtained quotes for the budget process. I believe it was just under $9,000. With the economy and pricing the way it is, we obtained another price here recently, and it had increased to $13,615. In addition to the quote received from Korea, staff also obtained another quote, and that was higher than Korea's. It is staff's recommendation to approve the quote from Korea Electric in the amount of $13,615. I believe during the budget process, $10,000 was budgeted for this. I know it is, about 36% more than what was budgeted, but given the fund balance in the water fund and the necessity to have this, it would be our recommendation to approve the quote.
I don't think it's gonna get any cheaper if we wait longer.
No. Is this something that we could use any kind of rescue plan monies for?
Given that the council has adopted a resolution and went with the lost revenue loss, yes. You can, I mean, there are some exceptions, obviously, we went over it in the past, pension fund, rainy day fund, but pretty much with the exception of like 3 or 4 expenses, COVID money can now be used virtually for anything.
Okay.
Would we,
If that was something that the council wanted to do, we definitely could bring back a resolution to the next council meeting to do so.
Okay.
you're saying just for the over, the overrun?
Oh, well,
Over to the whole thing.
or the whole thing.
The
I
whole
mean,
thing,
The funds are available
Mhm.
to pay the whole part, the whole 13,000.
Correct.
We could, right?
We could.
Okay.
It wouldn't matter that we've already budgeted for it and had the funds for, you know, the 10,000 already. There's no issue with that.
No.
It would just stay in
The bigger question would be, do you want to use it to offset an enterprise fund or the general fund?
I don't know, I mean, if
But
it's
the-
eligible, you might as well use it, right?
Yeah, the option is there.
I don't think it'd be a bad idea.
So do you still want this approved so you can get Korea hired, or do you want?
Yes.
Okay. And then you'll bring back a resolution for next meeting?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
All right, I move we approve the quote from Korea Electric for 13,615 for the connection for the generator.
motion by Councilperson Fear,
second.
second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of resolution 2022-29, a resolution authorizing issuance, awarding sale, prescribing the form and details, and providing for the payment of $1,671,000 general obligation improvement bonds, series 2022A. Paul Donna Baird. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. In your packet, you have a bond resolution that would authorize the issuance of $1,671,000 of general obligation improvement bonds. That resolution was prepared by your bond attorney at Dorsey & Whitney, Jennifer Hansen. And the proceeds from the bonds will be used to fund the street improvement project along with the utility improvements that go along with it. In your packet, you should have a short slide deck. Looks like this. I'll go through that, highlight a few things, and certainly answer any questions that you've got. So the debt service on the bonds will be paid for from a combination of property taxes as well as utility revenues from the sanitary sewer fund and the water fund, as well as special assessments against benefited properties. As you've done in the past, so we've presented options to the council in the past on how to go about issuing the bonds. You access the public market when it made sense, which means going through a complete bond rating process and basically canvassing the entire Midwest for professional institutional buyers to purchase the bonds. You've also solicited direct bank placement quotes in the past when it made sense as well. And so when in talking with Joel, given, as everyone is aware, interest rate market has just been, since probably the end of January, has only been going one direction, and that's north, going up. And so what we've discussed with Joel was, rather than access the public market, which would take at least probably 45 days longer to lock in an interest rate, we suggested soliciting proposals from area banks. And that process could be locked down within a week. And so what we did is we went that route. We solicited local banks, and we received 3 proposals. And you can see the 2 banks came in at exactly the same interest rate. except that the First State Bank of Lee Center's proposal, their terms with respect to your ability to prepay or refinance was 2 years shorter. So that's more flexibility to you. That's a better proposal to you. So our recommendation would be to approve authorization of the bonds to the purchaser, First State Bank of Lee Center. What I want to do on the next page is go through a little bit of the sources and uses. You've seen this before in the preliminary finance plan. What we were able to do is, because this went the private route, you're able to reduce some of the financing costs, and so we were able to borrow less than what was in the original plan. So you're borrowing $1,671,000. You've got about $50,000 of prepaid assessments that we're using to reduce the initial borrowing requirement. And you're also contributing about $26,000 of funds on hand from the utility funds to offset, to pay the first interest payment that's going to be due. And then you'll repay yourself back when you get those funds coming back in. So that'll fund the entire project cost of $1,684,132 and the financing costs that are below that. Just making sure that's not my phone. The next page shows the debt service if this was held to maturity at the 2.95% interest rate. It's a 15-year term that's locked in. And you can see how the payment schedule works from there. What I didn't include in that packet, but I'm bringing separately, is this shows the operation of your debt service fund. So you've got the special assessment revenues. So you've got the total debt service column about in the middle. You've got special assessment revenue projected to come in based on, I think it's about $340,000 of special assessments assessed this fall for first collection next year. Then you've got the water revenues, sanitary sewer revenues. And on the far right, you can see your local share, or your share that you'll pay for from property taxes at the $70,000 level. So, now, I want to put these interest rates in perspective. Slide 5, I just want to point out there is just a longer-term perspective. There's a column in the middle. It's the first column that's highlighted in blue. It's the difference from a year over year. So this time last year, we are about almost 1 3/4% higher overall in borrowing rates from just a year ago. You go to the next page, and what I did is I plugged in the comparison to the public market versus what we were able to do on the private market. And then there's a graph there that shows this is an index of interest rates for municipal borrowers. You locked in the rate on April 8th. Since April 8th, the rates are up 35 basis points already, and it's still going. So, and we still wouldn't be, if we went the public route, we still wouldn't be able to lock in rates yet. So you chose the right method to get in, lock in rates, and take that exposure off the table. So 2.95% locked in for 15 years is still, the next slide shows you're still at the low end of where rates have been over the last 20 years. So still a very attractive interest rate for capital improvements. So any questions I can answer?
Has there been any change in our bond rating?
Well, no. We didn't have this issue rated, so there was not an update from last year. But so no change. And if you don't go to the public market within the next couple of years, they'll come back and give Joel a call and want an update, and they'll come back with their own update within a couple of years. But no change to your bond rating.
Okay.
which is AA minus right now.
Still under 3%, that's not the end of the world.
Okay, any thoughts, anybody? Looks like we're in good shape.
Well, we're gonna need to pay for the project somehow. I move we approve resolution 2022-29.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very
Sir?
much.
Thank you.
Those funds will be in your bank account May 10th.
Good.
Okay, thanks much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Consider approval of a sewer rate adjustment for the property located at 116 Central Street West. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Staff was contacted earlier this year by the property owner of 116 Central Street West, questioning if the city had raised our water and sewer rates for '22. I told them that we had not, and subsequent to that, I had Mary Jo run their usage. And like I say, my staff report, kind of, prior to '21, it was all over the place. But definitely in '21, as you can see from their usage, it went up substantially. So there was obviously something going on. They checked, they had a leaky toilet. It has since been fixed. And since their water usage is all over the place, I'm recommending that the average billed for the remainder of the year be 2,000 gallons. I believe, I'm trying to get there. I believe the savings is $1,700 through the remainder of the year, so I'm glad that they called so we could get this resolved, and more importantly, they got their leak fixed. We're not wasting water, and it will be a benefit to them. So unless there's any questions, I would make a recommendation to approve the sewer rate adjustment as proposed.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Palava.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fair. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of a proposal in the amount of $32,950 submitted by Clark for the 2022 mosquito control management services. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Earlier this year, staff proposed and it was approved to solicit proposals for mosquito control services for this year. The RFP requested quotes on 21 treatments and then also larvicide treatment of surface water. We started that, I believe last year was the first year that we did that, where we put pucks in our retention ponds, other standing water throughout the year. It has a 180-day lifetime that it works, so it works for the whole season. Staff sent the proposal to 2 companies that had done this work for us in the past. In addition, I contacted several companies that do mosquito control. They just don't do it to the scale that we need. If it's your backyard or maybe the block, hey, that's one thing, but 35 to 40 miles of street just isn't in their wheelhouse at this time. For the synthetic pre-thyroid, which we've been using, it's $30,450 or $1,450 per treatment. Clark did provide a cost for all natural and organic, which is more than double that at over $72,000. And then the larvicide treatment for the surface water was $2,500, which was the same as last year. Overall, I believe the quote is up about 25% over last year. Clark has provided the service to the city in the past, most recently the last 3 years. It's no secret the vast and overwhelming majority of our residents are happy that we do treat for mosquitoes. The total cost, if 21 treatments are done and the larvicide is $31,800 was budgeted. The total cost is $32,950. As I said, the cost for this service has increased substantially over, certainly over last year, and even previous to that, it has been increasing. Options to hit that budget, we could eliminate a treatment or not do the $2,500 larvicide. Typically, every year, there's at least one treatment that gets missed or skipped. Usually it's in the first couple weeks of the season just because it's colder or rainy, so we just elect to skip that and then either use it later in the year or we get a refund when everything kind of gets tied out at the end of the year, gets reconciled at the end of the year. Included with the staff report is the RFP that was sent out and then Clark's proposal for 2022. The residents really like this, so it would be my recommendation to approve the proposal as submitted.
I think the larvicide pucks too, I think is a very good idea. And like you said, as cool as the spring has been, it might be, a little later that we start anyhow, so $1,000 would be saved right there.
Right.
With that, I move we approve the proposal submitted by Clark in the amount of $32,950.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval to make a conditional job offer to Tom Steiner as seasonal public works employee at grade 1, step 4, $14.92 an hour. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This and the next item are conditional job offers for seasonal public works employees. Steiner has reapplied this year and has worked seasonally for the last 6 years. Because it is a seasonal position, seasonal employees can only work up to 6 months before the city and the employee have to contribute to PERA. We limit that to less than 6 months. PERA is not something that the city budgets for seasonal employees. Alternatives would be to not make a conditional job offer to Steiner, and then attached to the staff report is the 100-point rated and the application and materials submitted by Steiner.
So moved.
Motion by Councilperson Fuhrer,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval to make a conditional job offer to Jerry Croyer as seasonal public works employee at grade 1, step 4, $14.92 an hour. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Jerry Croyer reapplied for seasonal employment with the city. He's worked seasonally for the last 5 seasons with us. This is kind of the same as all the other seasonal employees, can only work 6 months, otherwise the city has to contribute PERA along with the employee. $37,000 was budgeted for 2022 to pay seasonal employees. Alternative would be to not make the recommended conditional job offer, and then again attached is Mr. Croyer's 100-point rating and application submitted by him.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2022-30, a resolution accepting a donation. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. At the last library board meeting, I attended the last library board meeting, and at that meeting, the board was discussing that they received a $1,000 donation from First National Bank of Lee Center. I informed the board that it would have to be adopted by resolution, as all donations do. One, so that everyone knows what the donation is intended for, and two, that the city agrees that that's what it will be used for. And not in statute, but it's always nice to get a little publicity and recognition for making a donation. The donation, as I said, is for $1,000, and it is proposed to be used to offset 1 year of fines. Recently, the library board has been discussing and at the last meeting approved a policy to go fine-free. A library board member, Shirley Larson, was at First National talking about this, and they offered to make a donation to offset the $1,000, approximately $1,000 a year in fines that are generated. So the impact of the library is essentially cost neutral due to the donation, which is appreciated. Alternatives would be to not approve the resolution. At this point, it would be staff's recommendation to approve Resolution 2022-30.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Webb,
Second.
second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So did they approve the policy of fine-free, or was that kind of dropped then, or they did approve that anyway?
They did approve the policy.
That was just for this year, or is this gonna be an ongoing?
It is a permanent policy.
I suspect you're gonna be looking for donations every year.
I think I mentioned that at the meeting. It's, oh, this is gonna be a permanent donation yearly, but, you know, that's just,
I mean, the revenue's gonna have to come from somewhere, right? You know, but we'll worry about that next year, right? Maybe there won't be any fines.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, of course, to First National Bank. Nice gift, nice donation to the city.
right.
Let's see here. Consider approval to schedule a work session on May 12th, 2022 at 6 PM to meet with the Planning Commission to discuss housing. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Recently, staff was approached by an individual who is interested in constructing rental housing in Lonsdale. I had numerous phone conversations with him, provided him general information. I thought it was important that we meet in person and discuss the project. So we scheduled a meeting, I think it was for last week. Myself, the city planner, and Mayor Root attended, and thought that it was best to discuss housing overall, housing needs, rental housing, market rate, senior housing, all, kind of all different types of housing that are needed and or desired in the city. We thought it was important so everyone was on the same page and could hear what everyone was thinking, that both the Planning Commission and City Council members attend that meeting. So with that said, we're recommending that a work session be held on May 12th at 6 PM. Would be the same night as our regular council meeting at 7. Try to be cognizant of everyone's time. Put a little kind of explanation of what Lance Manti is the gentleman that we met with. He envisions a project that is market rate rental, is something that's needed in Lonsdale based off of housing studies that have been completed. He intends to rent and retain ownership for the foreseeable future. Doesn't want to get into a situation where he has to finance the project, which would trigger other requirements. Initially, he's looking to construct 3 to 4 units. At total build-out, that's kind of up in the air, but discussions have been 10 to 16 units. The units would consist of between 15 and 1,600 square feet, 2 stories, 2-car garages. Again, this is just all very preliminary. The fiscal impact to meeting, there is no fiscal impact. And then the alternative would be or one of them, not to schedule a work session to discuss housing options or needs of the community.
I mean, I think you summed that up pretty good. I think that, the overall view is what the vision wants to have for not only that parcel, but in Lonsdale. I kind of encourage maybe some senior housing myself. But I think it's good to have input from the entire council and planning zoning, of course. And the other thing that we should, maybe want to think about that, Joel, prior to the meeting is when we're going to sell city property. I know you've had some prices similar to the industrial park, and this particular developer made a proposal. Is there, in a situation like this, should that parcel be out for bids, or is it something that can just be negotiated and all that kind of stuff? And you don't have to answer now, but I guess my point is we should have that thoughts or that policy prior to that joint meeting too, just how that should be handled. So like I said, I mean, there definitely is a need for, housing and market, market rate rentals and all that, and, there's need for senior homes, like I mentioned, and there's probably need for apartments as far as that goes, but, really, it's a good chance to have an overall discussion of what our goal is as a city, and, I think, in fairness to this guy, he kinda wanted to get kind of the feel for the city before he goes too far down the path and spends a lot of money in engineers, and it's not what we're looking for. From what I understand, that parcel has to be rezoned, is that right?
The one that he is looking at, correct. It would
Right.
have to be rezoned from, I believe it's B2 to something around R3, and then the comp plan would have to be amended as well.
Right. So that's another, just a general discussion, do we even wanna rezone that, or do we wanna
Correct.
hold it for business? So there's a multitude of questions that, we need to answer as a city before we can really give out answers, but anyway, I guess, so if you wanna think about that, and if 6 PM on the 12th works for everyone,
Works for me.
It does.
So the big question you're thinking is, we gotta make sure that if we sell this land, that we're selling it at the correct market rate, like we're not,
Right, or should it go,
Decline.
should go out for bids, should just be an
Okay.
appraised value, it's, the thing is, and I kinda mentioned that to him, if it's a project that is strictly beneficial for the city, I just use senior housing as an example, then it's a little more incentive for a city to sell the land and rezone and all that kinda stuff, and, as market rate, townhomes, is that something that's important to us too, and, if it's just to sell land, well, that doesn't
right.
do much, then you might as well put it out for bids and,
Sure.
Does this, if we did this, will it have any effect on us, with the grant money that we had to create the business park? Now we're not having a business, it's not going to be a business park piece.
Well, just so we're clear, this is not in the business.
Okay, so it's,
This
okay.
is part of the 10 acres that
Okay.
we purchased
All right.
for our
Correct.
our complex, so, yeah,
Fine.
it's a good
Okay.
question, but yeah, yep. And just from, again, it's directly south of Dollar General between there and duplexes or townhomes or whatever they're called. But- So I guess really it's just, you wanna think about this prior to the meeting as to what our vision is and our goal, So,
I think it'd be good to sit down and meet with
Yeah.
get all our ideas together.
yeah, yeah.
and
It's
we'll
been a
be-
while since we had a meeting with planning and zoning, so it's a good, to just get a discussion.
And that may even lead to a future meeting with P and Z, because the day is gonna come, in the near future, we're gonna need more development. And it's hard to put incentives on development, but on the other hand, you wanna try and encourage developers to come, and all those kind of things too. And so, but that could be for a future meeting too, but anyway.
And will we set up the work session for May 12th at 6 PM?
Motion by Councilman Karada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval to make a conditional job offer to Dave Peters as seasonal public works employee at grade 1, step 4, $14.92 an hour. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is the last seasonal public works employee staff's recommending be made a conditional job offer. The Public Works Director and myself interviewed Mr. Peters, I believe it was Tuesday afternoon. He interviewed well, said he knows how to operate a mower and a weed whip. He said he is meticulous and eager to start. Based off of the availability of everyone that's been made conditional job offers and Mr. Peters here, it looks like the majority of seasonals are available Monday and Tuesdays, and then about half would work the remainder of the week. So, with that said, staff would make a recommendation to make a conditional job offer to Dave Peters as seasonal public works, grade 1, step 4.
So move.
Motion by Councilman Karada,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the planned agenda. On to department heads. Mr. Nick Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Construction has started. If you've been out there, it looks like a war zone right now, but trees are gone, pavement's gone. Started water main on Arizona Street. Next week, they'll get over to Fourth to do water main, do the sanitary sewer work, and after that, head over to Alabama. So project is being done in 2 phases. First phase is Alabama, part of Fourth, Arizona, and then they'll hit over to phase 2 probably in July. So it's nice to not have the whole area torn up at the same time, but so far, so good. Any questions, be happy to answer.
Seemed like a kind of early start this year despite the conditions, huh? Seemed like,
Yeah, they got lucky, given that they could get on, state highways to get here with equipment. They didn't have to drive into local streets with road restrictions are still actually on, but they were able to go on those roads and stay on them, so
Right,
worked out pretty good for them.
good, good. Okay, anybody? Otherwise, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Erickson.
Well, since the last meeting, I submitted our ARPA, COVID money, reporting. That was due, or is due to the 30th. Getting a refresher on NIMS and incident command systems. We're required to attend 3 days of training in a couple of weeks. Getting all those prerequisites done. Attended CVN last Friday, following up with several businesses that seemed pretty real. 10 of us attended, or 9 of us attended CPR training earlier this week. There's been a group working with the Community Foundation, so that seems to be progressing nicely. There's a group of committed residents that have really taken the lead on this and coordinating everything, so that's good. I think it eventually, when it's up and running, it'll be a really good asset for the city. Have a couple of election trainings to attend before the special primary election on May 24th. The city treasurer and myself will be meeting virtually with software companies to get demos. We've been with the current provider for at least 17 years, and a change is probably necessary. So we're starting that process for the budget process. Rice County EDA meeting next week, and then should have hit on it earlier. Our spring cleanup, citywide spring cleanup, is Saturday, May 14th, from 7 to 11 at the JC overflow parking lot. So that'll be advertised in the paper. They threw it on Facebook a couple days ago. So that time of the year.
Thank you for all your work, sir. Mr. Baker.
Just 2 things briefly. The last time we sold a Adopt-A-Bench with our Adopt-A-Bench program was back in 2016. We did have somebody that's going to be adopting a bench here. Melissa Kreiser with American Family, so that's nice. And then today we received 3 more new home permits, so now we're up to 13 the year. So
Moving right along. Thank you for all your work, sir. Councilman Webb.
We already heard about the library board. The liquor store board, we're not meeting it again until second period of May.
In May,
Finish-
yeah.
Is it May?
the
So
10th, yeah.
nothing new with that. And just to answer your question about the no fines, I think the philosophy they're trying to do is to trying to encourage more people to come into the library.
Sure.
We're still going to be taking care of lost books. There's still going to be a fee for that.
Okay.
But it's just the mind piece they
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
see. So
Let's put the try, sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
worth a shot. Yeah.
That's right, yep. Thank you, sir. Thanks for library board for all their volunteerism. Thanks. Councilman Kadada.
Park Board met on Monday. A few of the things we went over, we had a young gal here, Kate Oltgen. She's working on an Eagle Scout project, and she's proposing to put bike racks in a few of the parks around town. I think she had proposed up to 8 or 9 to put in. So we'll be working with her, seeing where those will get placed. There's the SHIP mini grant that the city did receive is going to be started this spring. Hopefully this spring, early this summer anyhow. It is a demonstration project. It's gonna be a marked trail on Birch Street Northeast coming from the villages of Lonsdale back towards 8th Street. What it's gonna consist of is a painted walkway along the curb, and there will be bollards that will be glued onto the street to dedicate a walking lane. So that's a demonstration project. We anticipate those bollards coming out for winter again. And hopefully, if we need one, permanent one, then we can move on from there. Couple other things, the next Trex recycling program, the Lonsdale Lions bench donation. They have enough for one bench already, and it sounds like they are halfway to another bench with their program. And we worked on updating our website. Ben has been working on that for Park and Recs. That's looking very good. And lastly, starting to look at a little bit into disc golf again. We had some inquiries of that the last couple weeks.
Nice.
And that is all.
Okay, thank you and the park board for all your work. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Councilperson Farrer.
The EDA met last Thursday, and we had an update on our digital marketing to make sure that our advertising is getting to the areas that we want it to, and seeing what kind of numbers it's making sure people are seeing it. And then there was also an update on the Community Foundation, which Joel mentioned. And then we approved a grant application for Something for All, so they'll be having some renovations done there, new siding and some windows on the building. So they'll be looking for, that'll spruce it up quite a bit in the coming, the windows are ordered, so it'll be happening fairly soon.
Good, very nice. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Councilman Flava.
In addition, the EDA agreed to sponsor the upcoming Lonsdale Expo, or the street fair, on May 17th. So, yeah, plug in for that. And then the weekly PD meetings we're moving along. Some of you may have seen the pictures. We got carpet is in. I mean, most of the flooring is just about done. So it's a lot of little things, but we're still on course for moving in July. So,
Nice.
but it looks pretty nice when you got the carpet in there and stuff.
Yeah,
It's starting to look a little like home.
Good. Nice looking building, I would
Yep.
imagine.
Yep,
Good.
absolutely.
Thank you for all your work over the course of the construction. Appreciate that very much. As you touched on with the chamber thing, I appreciate all the work that the chamber does and the board members. And as you mentioned, it's on the 17th at McIntoons. So it'll be a nice event. Couple other things, the citywide garage sale is the second weekend in May. So is that the same day as the citywide cleanup? Is that kind of,
Yes.
so is that coordinated like that? Is that kind of the point of it, or no?
No,
That's just a joke.
You need to clean up after garage sale,
Yes,
whatever you
yes.
didn't sell needs to be.
the week after.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
But when you're in the queue with,
Yeah,
10 other cities, you gotta,
yeah,
your date is your date.
Take
Right.
it, yeah.
And that's the
Mhm.
kind of consistency through the contract.
yeah. No, that's good. And then, lastly, the Lonsdale Fireman Steak Fry is, Saturday, May 21st. So contact any firefighter for tickets. There's one here, well, a former one.
Former.
So you don't sell tickets either?
I don't have to sell tickets.
You probably get a free pass now.
Nope, I've been solicited a lot.
So, anyway. Well, that's all I have.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Councilperson Führer,
Second.
second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.